Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on our webinar for Meraki Academy Proving the Value. So just to run through the agenda of what we're going to cover this morning. So I'm going to give an introduction to the team here, give an overview of what Meraki Academy is for those of you that didn't attend our last session, run through the Meraki sales model, and then I'm going to pass you over to our colleague Andy Hook, who's going to give you a demo, the demo. Emma's then going to run through how to request a Meraki trial and how you convert those trials into orders. And at the end, we're just going to give you some quick updates that are new in the Meraki world. We will be doing a Q&A at the end as well, so if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat box and we'll address those at the end for you. So just to introduce myself, I'm Sophie Mitchell. I'm the Cisco Meraki Sales Specialist in Enterprise Networking. Also joining me today, we've got Emma Payman, who's the Security Product Sales Specialist, and then Andy Hook, who's the Pre-Sales in Security, General Cisco Guru, very knowledgeable on all things Meraki.
Don't just say very old.
So just to give you a kind of overview of the Meraki Academy, it's a pilot scheme that we've developed based around the Meraki VAR Academy. We've opened it up to all partners. It's designed to support you on both a sales and technical level. Really designed for those that are kind of brand new to Meraki or those looking to expand on their current Meraki business. So if, for example, you're currently only proactively selling Meraki Wireless, for example, we can really support you in looking at selling Meraki as a full solution, obviously to broaden your customer base and hopefully maximise your profitability. So we held our first session last quarter. In that session, we did a technical 360. That was a face-to-face session in Bracknell. And then we did a sales overview webinar. Today, we're going to be looking to enable you to provide demos to your own customers, fully understand the trial process, and then future sessions, we kind of rely on your feedback to look at what you need us to give you. So if there's anything that you like, particular product training, then let us know after. As I said, feedback's greatly appreciated. So the Meraki sales model is all around the see, try and buy. So the C part is what Andy's going to be showing you today. Meraki also do weekly webinars. If you're not aware, then please pop onto their website. They do some really good webinars. You can also get some free kit out of them, which is always nice. The try, obviously, Meraki trials hopefully lead to a purchase. They pride themselves on their trial conversion rate, which is a massively high 80%. So hopefully after today, you'll be able to go out, do some demos yourself, get your customers trialing some kit, and hopefully get some purchase out at the end of it. So I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Andy Hook now, who's going to go through the demo. And over to you, Andy.
Morning. So I demo the Meraki stack, and for that, and if you just bear with me, I'll just try and share my screen when Emma passes me the ball. And I tend to use my own CMNA kit. Now, there are demo Meraki networks that you can use within the dashboard, but they tend to be very large and quite overly complex with lots of things going on. So you can use those by all means, but I think it's worthwhile if you've got some of your own NFR kit or you've gathered kit from CMNA training or through any of these webinars. I think it makes sense if you can use that, because it gives you a better story to tell. So if you bear with me, I will just share my screen. Hopefully that should appear. Yeah, so this is the Meraki dashboard, dashboard.meraki.com, and then you log in with your admin details. And when it comes in, you can see here we've got a nice pretty map showing you where those networks are located. Now, this is a good place to start, certainly when you're doing a demo, because it just shows that you can sort of get that nice pretty picture and see where things are. So in my dashboard, you can see I've got two networks. I've got the one called Odvoc, which is my home network. And then I've got one that's sitting over at the mother-in-law's. She's 83, and it's a lot easier if I can change her wireless details remotely. So that's a good place to start, and you can see as you drill in and out, you can see the devices that are in there. So it's worthwhile showing that as a starting point, and obviously if you have more things over the world, you see the boxes appearing as they are. The next thing that I think is worthwhile doing is just give a quick overview of kind of how the dashboard actually works. So the different sections, you know, whether it be the MXs, the MSs, or the wireless, and then just point out that the two columns, one is the monitors, that's where you're getting information from the dashboard, and then the configuration. So that's always a good place. So if I just go down, I'll use my home network and just come in and look at the clients. You can drill down on monitor and see the clients. Now, just before we go on and look at those clients, notice this upcoming information. So one of the powers of Meraki is, you know, as we've been telling you, is kind of the power of those updates, the software that you get for free. And here you can see that my wireless is going to get itself upgraded sometime in the next kind of week or so. So it pops me up information so that I can see that. So obviously I don't mind when it upgrades that. It's going to upgrade it in, you know, 5 o'clock in the morning. Not a problem for me. Obviously, if this was a live network, you may want to go in and choose and schedule when that occurs. But here you can see my clients. Let's just get rid of that, just to give us a bit more space on the page. So here you can see the clients that are on my network. We can select whether they've got a policy, which network they're on, whether they've just got access port clients or wired clients. But more importantly, I can change that viewpoint of that scope of that call. So I could look in last couple of hours or a week, just so you can start to see that. So here you get that visibility of what those clients are, when they were last seen on the network. Don't click that button because it'll take you where you don't want to go. It's MAC address, it's IP address, and this one's quite useful. You can then start to see which policy has been applied. Then you can drill down and actually show the applications that those clients have been using. So then what I tend to do is I then tend to drill down and perhaps look at, depending on what they're interested in, look at, say, the wireless and the systems there. So here we can go into the wireless. You can see again, monitor showing those access points, and then the configuration. So let me just show you the wireless IDs, so the SSIDs. So I pop in and I've got I've got 3, 4 wireless IDs configured on my access points. I've got the one that I use, you know, the Chaff. I live in a place called Chaff House, so strangely that's why it's got that name. And then I've got a 14-year-old lad, 15-year-old lad. It was his birthday recently, and he gets a slightly different SSID. Mainly that means that when he annoys me, I can always turn his network off when he's not watching. And then I've got a guest access. Now the power with the kind of the Meraki stuff is that I'm sat in Cirencester at the moment, but I could turn off that guest access. So anybody that was logged in on my guest network at home now has just lost their connectivity. And more importantly, I can also do that for my boy's network, and he gets very annoyed. So let's just show you the sort of some of the things that you could potentially show. I mean, obviously, if they've got an interest in the wireless, you can kind of just pop into, let's go into the youth one. Just go into edit the settings. And here you can start to see the granularity that you can go down to. So you can choose that network access, what you need to do to associate. Obviously, I'm using a pre-shared key at home. Obviously, in a work environment, you'd be using WPA2. And then you can either use local authentication or throw that off to a radius server. You could use Mac-based control and query that radius server at that point. So let's just leave that where it was. Oh, did you notice there the save? It prompts you nicely if you've got unsaved changes. So it does try and help you as you're configuring the Meraki dashboard. So we'll just leave that there. And then you can start to drill down and see what you can actually do once you make that connection onto this wireless. So obviously I've just got direct access, but you could then start to do kind of guest pages, setting up portals, setting on sign-ons, again, tying off with the other Cisco solutions and actually tie it into the ISE engine. The one that is quite useful is the systems manager, which we may talk about when we talk about the MDM side of the dashboard. So that gives you that good overview of the types of things you can do. Now, for this network, we've got things like Sonos and Alexa at home. So when we're on this Chaff Youth dashboard, when we're on there, he'll need to be able to see my local client, so he can see the Sonos, so change them. And that's there because the clients are part of the LAN. If you just noticed on the my guest network, obviously I don't want my guests being able to see devices that are inside my network, the guest network. They just need access to the outside world. And what I've configured there is I've got NAT running not on the firewall. This is NAT effectively running on the wireless. So anything on this network will get a strange 10 address and then won't be able to talk to devices on my LAN. But really what we're trying to do is just show you how easy it is to just go in, make those settings, save them, and actually implement them as you go. So, okay, so let's just have a look at what else we've got on this network. We've obviously got the clients we've talked about. We've touched on the topology slightly, because of course this is my home network. But then if you had a larger switching environment, you could actually start to look at the layer 2 and the layer 3 logical layers to give you, that picture of the network. Mine is obviously fairly easy. I've got a firewall and I've got a switch and I've got an access point. If you then drill down, you could then start to look at the MX. So the MX being the security piece at the front of the wall. And you can come onto the appliance status page, and that page just gives you that overall view of what that device is doing. So here you can see, I can change where it appears on the map, which is that front page on the network. I can see the ports that are connected. I can see the outside address. Remember the way that Meraki works, it creates a tunnel out from the device back to the Meraki cloud so that we can log into that Meraki cloud and almost pre-configure that configuration to push down. This shows you those ports on the MXs, and then you can come down and you can kind of look at things like the uplink ports. You can see I've got a single interface on the outside world, which has got an outside address, which has changed. Obviously, I'm on a local ADSL link at home, and it's dynamic, so that address has changed. But you can then see that it's just bumbling along quite nicely. There's not many people at home at the moment, so there's only a few bits of network traffic going on. But you can start to look at that historical data and see kind of latency figures and loss figures. Looks like it's had a bit of a glitch last night, but I live in the sticks, so that's fairly common with me. Nice thing though with the thing is the tools. So you can kind of come in and you can show things like rebooting the appliance. I won't do that because I'll lose connection to my network. Nice one though, certainly in a real environment, is this blinking the LEDs. If you're trying to work remotely and trying to get somebody to plug into a switch, you can just blink the LEDs and tell your remote hands, oh, find the bit of kit that's got the flashing lights on it, and then you can tell them which port you need to plug into. So you can do a quick run round the firewall piece. Start looking at the firewall rules. So here you can see that I've created some fairly odd rules, not a fairly standard list. The reason that I've got this list is that one of the Macs in my network has got a Trojan, so I was trying to stop it getting out to the command and control. Notice here what I've done is I've blocked DNS out to anybody other than Umbrella. The reason is I've got a 14-year-old boy who's constantly trying to get round the bits and pieces I put in my network. But here it shows you nicely I'm allowing out to Umbrella, and then I'm blocking DNS otherwise. And then you can come in, and then there are the other firewall, there's 7 rules that you can add in, giving that security functionality. Okay, so what I would then tend to do is talk about, switch configuration and just show how you can, look at those switch ports, see what those switches are doing, talk a bit about using the tags so that you can select blocks of ports and apply configuration all at one time. And then really depending on the audience and what you're looking to try and show, I'd either then come and talk about the Systems Manager or Meraki Insights. So let's start with Insights. So Insights is using your MX appliance as a sensor. And it's a web finger pointing tool. So let me just show you. If I jump onto the web applications, so what you do is you set up applications that you care about from coming out within your organization. Now obviously this is coming from my home, so we care about Netflix a great deal. So I've set up Netflix as that key web application, but obviously in the real world you'd be setting up Office 365, you'd be setting up Salesforce.com. And it's not going to load for me, which is always the same when you're doing a demo. Deep joy.
The curse of the live demo.
Oh, always. There we go. Kick it, it'll make out. So here you can see Netflix, it's still not quite loading. But when you go in, effectively, you've got each of these 7 areas, because all the traffic flows through the MX, you can then see where that issue occurs. So obviously, if it was the data, if it was the network having the problem, you'd see that there. It's not going to give me pretty graphs. So under here, normally when it loads, there's pretty little graphs that you can see. Now, one of the things that I think is probably worth doing, certainly if you're trying to demo to a customer facing, is perhaps have a bit of backup for you. I'm just going to jump to that now and actually have a few bits of recordings done. So I've already created, if I can find it, an Insights demo. So what you can then do, if I can find it, is then if something doesn't quite work through the LAN, you can then just quickly jump out to your demo, find the screenshot that you want to talk about. So this is just showing that. Where's the graphs? Just want to show you the screenshot of those graphs as they should appear. There we go. So let me pause that there. So literally as you go along here, this is on the network, and these graphs showing that performance score should appear at the top. And then if there's any outages here, you can see on this bit, as it's come across at about 3:30 on this day, there was some network usage dropped through the floor. And if somebody rings up and says, we've got a problem with Netflix, Office 365, You can then come into there, look at the network, see if at that time there was an issue, come into the application, see if there are any application issues, look at the WAN, which obviously tends to be where the network usually has a problem, that connection out to the ISP, look at the LAN, look at the local clients, and then even down to looking at the servers on the other end. If you identify a server that's then not performing correctly, you can then contact your Microsoft support and log that case. And that's what Insights is really giving you. It's really giving you that visibility of the network so that if there are issues, you can identify them and get them escalated fairly quickly without too much trouble. Okay, how am I doing for time? Not too bad. Just wanted to very quickly talk about the Meraki and the umbrella connections. The reason it's one that I think is worth talking about, it's a very easy API integration to do and gives you some really quite powerful functionality with not a lot of trouble. So let me just talk about my wireless and just show you that integration. So I've got those 4 SSIDs. So I've got Chaff and Chaff Youth. And when I go into the firewall page, because I've joined my umbrella portal to my Meraki portal, you can see here that I can select those umbrella policies. I've obviously got 2 or 3. I've got mine, which is the policies I use on my network, and then a slightly more restricted policy that I use on my boys' network. And that means that when traffic flows through that access point, through that network, that SSID, then it'll be subject to the policy of those umbrella. And that is really key in performing that level of security. So this is happening at the access point. And the nice thing is if my boy tries to get clever and change the umbrella DNS server, then the access point will stop him and forward that traffic to DNS, so he can't get around that policy that way. What I can't show you is what is coming very shortly. Cisco and Meraki, although Cisco is now part of Meraki, they still tend to be slightly different, but they are working on a single SKU, single part code for this integration with the Meraki MRs and the umbrella. And effectively what you will have is you'll have the ability here, so underneath organization or probably just above it, you will have a tab with umbrella on. Obviously I can't demo that to you because it's not quite yet been released, but when it does, you'll have that single pane of glass where you'll be able to come in and do the configuration both for your Meraki side but also your umbrella side. But even the integration as it stands currently is very powerful. I can just jump on there, and if you've not seen the umbrella dashboard, just quickly log in. Just to prove it is actually tying in and we're not just typing it in. When you come and look at those policies within that dashboard, we should be able to see when it gets there my policy for my stuff and then the policy for the boys. But really, quite simply, that just gives you that integration. And if you've got somebody that is interested in that umbrella piece, you can then go on further and talk about the integration with the MX that's in beta at the moment and how you might apply that to group policies. Then the one last thing that I would perhaps just make sure people understand is the licensing. And I tend to have a bit of a discussion about the licenses and certainly show them this licensing page because that makes it nice and easy when you start to look for renewals and adding devices to your network. If we can, if you as a reseller, as a distribution, get to see that page, it makes it a lot easier to make sure you get the right licenses. And then really, I tend to go from there as to whatever they need to see. And I think that's probably pretty much all I would do on an initial demo, and then drill down as people ask questions afterwards.
Great, well thanks very much for that, Andy. Very, very useful as always. If you wouldn't mind
Passing you the ball back
over to me.
So
obviously, demoing a dashboard is great for a customer's understanding of how to actually use the kit, but particularly on the security side of things, a lot of our products are better displayed when they're actually using them for real life. So going by a seeing is believing mentality. So let me just flick back to presenting. So if we talk now about the trial side of things, now I'm going to be flicking back and forth through a couple of screens, so do bear with me, but it's just so I can demonstrate to you how these things look, how you find them, and what useful information there is to know. This may be a process that you're aware of, but I think the purpose of including this on this webinar was maybe just to highlight a couple of things that you might not be aware of, so maybe a couple of the minor requirements with regards to setting up a trial and even converting that to an order, just to ensure that the process runs smoothly and you have full visibility of those trials. So first things first is you want to be logging on to the MerakiPartners.com website and pulling your unique referral link. Now, the purpose of doing this is so that when you request your trial with Meraki, you will then be able to go onto this My Referrals page here, which not only shows you your webinar referrals, but it also shows you your trial referrals. I'll show you a little screenshot of that in a moment, but obviously I can't click on that because this pulls through data for all partners that we work with. Hopefully, you will have already had a conversation with your Meraki representative before requesting this trial. Now, the reason that I say that is because when you request it, it's an online submission form. So there's two ways that you can reach this. If you were to search for Meraki demo on Google, for example, this is the page that will probably come up to you. Now, this page obviously offers you a webinar, offers you a demo, which will be delivered by Meraki, but that is also obviously something that we can help with and that we have tried to enable you to do today. And then also you can click on this request trial gear here. Now I have that page open already, which looks something like this. Now that website is meraki.cisco.com/form/trial, very simple, so you could just search for that. Now, going back to our referral link, I'm just going to make sure I've got that copied. All you want to do is just pop that referral link on the end of that trial site, refresh the page. So now, when you enter your details for this trial, that will link this trial to your referrals page. That's very important. So on this page, you enter your end customer details, and this is also why I mentioned about connecting with your Meraki rep prior to requesting the trial, because they will contact your end customer directly. So, if you're happy with that, that's not a problem. But if you would rather have a conversation with them beforehand, probably best to reach out to them first and then submit this. On the flip side, if you are happy just to submit it in this way, what will happen is you will see a confirmation screen that looks like this. So we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Obviously, that is assuming that an end customer has filled in that information. And then when you go onto that referrals page, we did a little test one the other day using Sophie's details. What you can see here is that it populates the Meraki representative that specific trial has been aligned to. So you then have an option to be able to reach out to that person if you're not 100% sure who they were. That's nice and easy. Now, following on from initiating that trial, Meraki will ship out the goods direct from their Netherlands warehouse, their only EU warehouse, and that will be on a 5 to 7 day lead time. It's a very quick and easy process to set up Meraki, as you're probably aware. So there's not a lot of support that then comes after that point, but they'll have conversations with the Meraki representative on how to get that set up. And obviously we'll always have a point of contact in you or in Meraki to support getting that done. What they will ask, and what some partners aren't aware of, is they will ask for some credit card details when the trial is requested, and the purpose of that is just for security purposes. They won't actually take any payments, but obviously they just need a little bit of a safeguard in the background in case they don't get their kit back, which, you know, is a given. So the trial periods themselves are typically for 14 days. That can be up to 60 days, but it's dependent on the type of customer and also how many users there are within that customer, how long the trial will be for. I would imagine if you're reaching the end of your trial period and you need a couple more days, maybe a week, it's just a conversation to have with the Meraki representative to see whether they can extend that tool. Not a problem. Now, as we mentioned, the Meraki success rate is quoted within the it's quoted at an 80% success rate. So 8 out of 10 of these trials that you run are likely to convert to an order. In order to convert those to an order, there's a couple of steps that need to be followed. First of all, Meraki issues something called an MAQ, and this is basically Comstor's quote from Meraki. So we don't order these through a deal ID. This is discount that's provided on an MAQ quote from Meraki. The second thing that we need is the serial numbers for the devices, and then the ordering process is exactly the same from your point of view. We just need the MAQ from Meraki, the serial numbers, and a PO as normal. We then raise that as a bill-only order on Meraki, so they just bill you for the hardware and link it up with the serial numbers that you've provided. And then Meraki will issue you with a dashboard key for the licenses. Simple as that. Very easy process. If in this scenario it is the 2 out of 10 times that customers decide they don't want to keep the kit, the process is just as easy. Meraki issue a return shipping label when they ship out the kit to the customer. So they literally just have to box it back up, put the shipping label on, and send it back. Easy as that. So, get back to where we were. So that's kind of in a nutshell how the trials work. Obviously a lot of this is done with Meraki directly, but like I said, we just wanted to make sure that you were aware of a couple of the minor details that you may not be aware of at this point. What we have done is just put a useful links page together, so you've got your basics of the Meraki partner portal, so that you can log in and get your trial link. I've also put on there a dCloud demo console link.
I'll show them that one.
Yeah, so Andy's just pulled that up because there was actually a question that was asked about how do you access a demo of the dashboard if you don't have a demo portal yourself. So Andy can pull that up in a moment. The request a trial link that I mentioned, and then there's some useful links that Meraki have provided to follow up on those trials and a couple of Q&As. Okay, so there's just 2 more things that we want to mention, and they're basically just hot off the press things that we've had issued from Meraki recently, one of which is actually a release that's only come out today, so you guys might be some of the first people to hear this. So the first one is Meraki is doing a Meraki on tour. So this is a general overview update issued by a number of people within Meraki's business and a number of sites. So it'll be a really good event, including a bit of an opportunity to network within people within Meraki, so you know who it is to speak to. So we've added the link on there for you to register.
Just on that, sorry, so the way they're running this, it's going to be a 2-part session. So in the morning, you're free to invite your customers, and then in the afternoon, it's partner only. So if you've got any customers that you'd like to invite on this, then you can certainly go and do that.
Great. And the second one, as you can tell, I pulled this on a slide this morning, so my hot off the press banner's off the edge of the page. Sorry about that. But Cisco Meraki have launched a first year on us promo. So if you have a customer who has purchased or who's purchasing new kit with 3, 5, 7 or 10-year licenses, they get an extra 365 days free of charge. Now, this is for new kit only, so if you're adding a dashboard key on as a renewal, it will not apply, unfortunately. But if you're just licensing more devices and you add that dashboard key in, Cisco will add that extra 365 days on automatically, and there's nothing that you need to do on top of that. The other great thing about this is that they are actually backdating it for purchases made after the 28th of July 2019. So if you have made any purchases of Meraki licenses for 3 years or more since the end of July, all of those customers will get an extra 365 days on their licenses. Very kind of Meraki. So that kind of brings me to the end of the updates I was going to do. I'm going to flip back to Andy so he can show you the dCloud demo console for you.
As I said when I started, I tend to use my own dashboard, and then of course the question was asked, how do we get access to the demo dashboard? So Emma's popped the link in those useful ones, but if you go to the dcloud.cisco.com, and I'll just show you the kind of the long way round because I can never find that link whenever I want it. So here you can see we're logged in already, so you just log in using your Cisco CCO. If you go into My Hub, obviously I've got no session set up, so I'd need to come in and find some content, and the easiest way to find it is to search for Meraki in the catalogue, and you'll see lots up here. You can have a scroll through some of these, they'll give you all sorts of documentation and things, but if you scroll down, there's one called Simple IT, which is usually somewhere near the bottom, just because that's the way life is. There it is, that Simple IT, Meraki interface for partners, instant demo. So you don't need to reserve this, you don't need to spin it up, you can just jump straight in. Here again, you can still see that it bringing up information and warnings, but it'll bring you into the kind of the portal. Just then you can see demo, networks, Simple IT solution, demo, redo or trial, and then you can just then carry on, drill down as I did, and then talk about those networks. Very much the same way. You can see they've got all the usual boxes. They've got some cameras, so you can actually go and start talking about the cameras if you wanted to. But then you can carry on and do your clients, and these are populated with clients in just the same way, and effectively deliver the demo from here. The one thing that I would say is do have a poke around this portal before going live with any customers, because obviously you need to have sort of that flavour, you need to have a bit of that story as to what's on the network so that it makes sense and you can talk about it nice and easily. But you can do everything that I did from here, and as they've got some cameras, probably a little bit more as well. Should I chuck you the ball back, Emma?
Perfect. It's slow on the conversion, so apologies to those guys.
Did you spot any other questions in the question and answers?
Yes, hang on a second, sorry. Sorry about that, guys, some slight technical issues, clearly a Thursday morning thing. So yeah, there have been a couple of questions. One of the questions on there was with regards to whether we were recording this session. We are, so we will be sharing that out. Please feel free to share this with any of your colleagues that you think might find it useful. And equally, if they'd like a bit of a one-on-one demo, that's certainly something that we can accommodate for you. As you can tell, Andy enjoys talking about Meraki, so I'm sure he'd be happy to run it again.
I just enjoy talking.
Yeah. There was another question just with regards to a deal ID. So if you have a deal ID raised already that has discount applied to it and you've had a quote for it, but you also have a trial running, the discount can vary between an MAQ and a deal ID. The simplest solution for this is just to make sure that your Meraki account manager or even your internal account manager at Comstor is aware that there is a deal ID as well, and Meraki can match the discount on the MAQ to the deal ID just to ensure that there's no pricing discrepancies. Just double checking there isn't any other questions.
The only other one that I've come across where it's been problematic with running trials is with the power cables. As you know, Meraki don't necessarily include the power cable by default. So when you're ordering that trial kit, it's just worth remembering that you need to be able to plug it in. There's nothing worse than a customer getting a big pile of shiny new boxes to play with and not getting a power cable so they can plug it in. So that's just worth making sure.
Cool, and then I think there was just one other question where someone asked if we were going to be running more sessions like this. The answer is yes. We're kind of trying to put a timetable in place at the moment for useful topics, but please let us know if there's anything in particular that you'd like to learn more about, because we are basing future sessions on partner requirements. So, and either of us, either Sophie or I, please let us know, and we can certainly accommodate that for you as well. But if not, thank you very much for your time. We hope you found that useful. I will be sharing the recording following on from this session. Have a lovely day.
Thank you very much. Bye.